SAS interview question and answer. Question number 88. This is a sample project 3. How do you check data quality of critical data element for a data source before inject to model input? This question is asking about you have given a data source. How can you check data quality for critical data element before inject to model input? To generate the final data quality report, we go through the following steps. Number 1. Identify existing business logic. In this step, we go through the model document, identify business logic, which plays major role in calculation or model output. Number 2. Identify critical data element, that is CDE. In this step, we go through the model code, identify major fields which are used in calculation or model output. Number 3. Data profiling. In this step, we find the data insights for CDE. Following, we have to calculate. Number 1. Data volume. 2. Duplicate records. 3. Missing records. 4. Maximum value. 5. Minimum value. That means max and min value are outliers. Number 4. DQ check code. Depending on business logic, write data quality code which identifies the data anomalies present in the source data and sent to data error file. Number 5. DQ check final report. In this step, it prints a report for those error records with important information and error message. Next step, we go through the SAS window and write the code for step-by-step process. This is SAS window. We are going to check data quality for given dataset. Dataset name is dq_check_final. This dataset is in SAS_macro folder. This is the folder location. Next step is as per requirement. Assume that I have already gone through the model document and model code and identified following critical data element as well as business logic. First one is FICO_score, that is the FICO score. FICO score cannot be null and it must be in the FICO score range 300 to 850. Second one is loan amount. Loan amount cannot be null as per business logic fulfillment. Third one is interest rate. Interest rate cannot be null. Fourth one is last payment date. Last payment date cannot be null and maximum loan period cannot be more than 50 years. These are the critical data element and these are the business logic. We identified from business required document which we have provided along with model code and model document. After getting critical data element and business logic, next step we are going to further step data profiling. After getting critical data element and business logic, next step is data profiling. To go through the data profiling, first of all we have to connect given data source. Data source given is dq_check_final. This data set is inside this folder SAS_macro. This is the folder location. We use live name method to connect the data. This is the live name. Suppose dq_check. And we use here this folder location. That means let me run this first one line of code and observe the result. This live name is successfully assigned. Next step is we are going to check number of volume, missing records, minimum value, maximum value, main value for given critical data element. To identify those information, first of all we have to identify type of those critical data element. That means FICO score, loan amount, interest rate, these three fields are numeric. Last payment date is date. That's why we can use here proc means procedure. Use proc means procedure. Data is here. We use same live name. Data set name is dq underscore check underscore final. Then next step we are going to calculate total number of volume and missing records and miss minimum value, maximum value, mean value for those critical field. That means we have given here those critical fields are given here: FICO score, loan amount, interest rate, and last payment date. We use var, then run. When we run this code, it will generate a result which will display number of volume, missing record, minimum value, maximum value, and mean value. Let me run this code and observe the result. These are the variable, label, total volume, missing records, minimum, maximum, and mean value. In case of last payment date, we observe here minimum value, not a date format. Similarly, we observe here maximum value. That's why to get the date format, we use proc SQL procedure and select statement. Let me go through the proc SQL. Select. We use here maximum date. Max date of last payment date. As max payment date. Now we have to use format. Format is date 9. The next one is we have to calculate loan period in terms of year. That's why we use here SAS date function. Inject function we use. Then we need year. The next one is we calculate year from today's date with maximum of this value. As max loan period. From the same source we use. Source name is dqcheck underscore final. From here, let me run this code. From here, from result window, we observe here maximum loan payment date is 1st of January 2099 and maximum loan period is 75 years. That means allowed maximum loan period is only 50 years, but this data is showing some records it has 75 years. That's why we have to remove those records before inject into the data, into the model input. Let me go back to the code and start to write the data check code. After data profiling step, we move through data check code. From data profiling step, we identified this data has certain records, which includes outliers and missing values. That's why data check code will check those business requirements for those critical data elements. To write the code, first of all, we go through the data step process where we create two data sets. One is correct data set, another one is incorrect or error data set. Let me go through the data step process. Data, correct data, then another one is error data. Then we use same data source. Data source is here. dqcheck underscore final. We use same data source. We are going to create one new field and its name is message. And it is character variable. That's why we have to fix certain length. Let me fix the length of that new variable. Length message and its length is suppose 100. We use $sign because it is character variable. Now let me check business requirement for those critical data element. First of all, I am going to check for FICO score. FICO score is here. First of all, if condition is applied here, if FICO score equals to missing or FICO score less than 300 or FICO score greater than 850, then do as follow. That means it will display message. Message is given here. That means FICO score cannot be null and must be in this range. It will display this message. If this condition is valid, then output to error folder. That means error data. In this do loop, let me check for the next step. Next one is loan amount. Loan amount, if this loan amount is null, then do as follow. Message, it will display this message. Message is loan amount cannot be null as per business requirement. If this condition valid, then display the record into output folder or output file, that is the error file, error data in this process. Next one, let me check with interest rate. If interest rate equals to null, then do the following step here. Same process, display message. Message is here. Interest rate cannot be null. Then if this condition valid, then display that information to error dataset. Output error data in this process. The next one is last payment date. If last payment date is null or last payment date greater than, apply certain cutoff date. Suppose 1st of Jan 2075. It is about 50 years. Then do following step here. Display this message. We have given this message. That means last payment date cannot be null and max loan period cannot be more than 50 years. If this condition matches with the given set of data, then it will display into the another data set, that is the error data set. That's why output error data. In this process. Then finally, if not, then display all records into correct data set. Else, we use here output data set name is correct data, run. Let me check this code first. Data step, we have two data set, correct and error. We use same data set which is given to us. We fix the length. First of all, we check FICO score, missing record, and this range. And we display here FICO score cannot be null and must be in this range in this process. Next one, we check here loan amount. Next one, we check here interest rate. And last one is last payment date. If it is missing or last payment date greater than 1st of Jan 2075. Here is a mistake here. Then do the following process here, following step. Then if not, then display all correct data into this data set. Let me run this code and observe the result. Let me run this DQ check code. It has displays two data set. One is correct data set, another one is error data set. We are mainly concerned with error data set here. It has 27 records which have either missing record or outliers. Let me check message. It displays message here. These are the information we obtained from DQ check code. Message is here. Interest rate cannot be null. Last payment date either missing or 50 years, more than 50 years. FICO score, loan amount, and so on. After getting those information, let me go through the code and write the final step. Final step is we are going to create a result report which displays certain information, that means which displays certain variables and messages. Let me write the code here, the title, suppose here title is, we are going to check here DQ check for this data set. Then we are going to print a result, that is a proc print. Proc print data, we are using here correct data, incorrect data, that means the error data. And we are selecting certain variable, that means first one is ID, then second one is all information here. Then next step, final is run. Let me run this code and observe the result. This is the final result, but it doesn't have message. That's why we have to include message variable here. Let me include here message and run this code. Now it has displayed message. That means this ID, it has FICO score 720, but it has interest rate is missing. That's why this record is error record. Similarly, we get all information from this result. In this way, we can check the data quality for the given data source. After knowing this information, either we can fix the data or we can remove that data from data source. That's all about this question or this project 88 or project number 3. Thank you.